The following program, Know the Cause, is paid for by Mediatrition Incorporated.
You're going to love this. Studyfinds.org. I like that website. They're talking about 3 foods that are unhealthy or damage your gut health. Folks, if you don't know fungus and mycotoxins, do you really know nutrition? We'll delve into that by the end of the show. But opening today's show, what happens when fungus gets in your body? One thing, folks, I'm going to introduce you to is fungus balls. They mimic on X-ray lung cancer when they end up in the lung, these fungus balls. So I'll teach you all about that. Josh Dech is a Canadian certified nutritionist. He's helped so many people that I called him in Canada and said, get down here to Dallas, I want to film you. He's helped people with stomach problems, bloating, belching, gas, constipation, those seeing a lot of doctors. He works with them nutritionally. He's not a doctor, so he works with them nutritionally. And his results are very exciting, so I invited him to be on today to talk a little bit about that. Dr. Lee Cowden is a cardiologist, but he specializes in myelin sheath diseases like ALS and MS, and he's recommending an inexpensive supplement called berberine for some of those problems. Doctors Angela and Mark Stengler today are going to be talking about skin, chronic skin problems, I hope yeast and all things like that. So stay tuned. We've got a great show lined up for you. Now remember, as we start today's show, I teased you. You're going to want to see the last segment. This is big. Welcome to Know the Cause.
For the past 45 years, I have dedicated my life and my whole career to finding the root cause of disease. And I now know with certainty that we must play a role in our own health care. I'm a self-care advocate, and you know what? Every time you change your diet for the better, exercise, or swallow a nutritional supplement, so are you. Now welcome to Know the Cause.
In September of 2022, short time ago, well, a few years ago, fungi find their way into cancer tumors, but what they're doing there remains a mystery, says STAT, S-T-A-T, a website. And boy, that's where we are today, folks. I hate to tell you this, but I have found through my 50 years of work in this area, we're kind of on our own. I think it's a good idea if a man wakes up with blood on the sheets in the morning, get to a doctor, get ruled out, something serious isn't going on. But how prepared are the doctors to diagnose fungal diseases? And one specifically, I've told you for 25 years on television that fungi grow in lumps and bumps, polyps. They have realized have a lot of fungus in them, nasal polyps. And so fungal balls are real. They collect in lumps or bumps. Let's go over some of this. Fungal diseases, I got this from Allergy and Infectious Disease website. Fungi include a wide variety of organisms such as mushrooms, molds, yeast that are common outdoors in water, soil and air, indoors on surfaces, and our skin. I'm just going over this quickly. And inside our bodies. You're kidding, inside our bodies. Mold can worsen breathing problems in people with allergies or asthma, while various types of fungi can infect nails and cause skin rashes. All kind of sounds benign. Some fungal infections are more common in people with weakened immune systems. However, even people with strong immune systems can fall prey to fungal diseases. Okay, this is what allergists and immunologists learn from. Bacteria is a huge problem. All these viruses are killing. Fungus, a little itchy, just amazes me. That sounds pretty innocent, right? What can happen to fungus that are, and I quote the article, common inside our bodies? Number one, they can mutate your genes, they can induce cancer, they can affect your breathing, etc. Your health can change. Fungi can disseminate throughout the body and can deposit poisonous mycotoxins into human tissues. When might that occur? It came to me as I was writing this particular article. So many times in the past 50 years I found, well, let me share a couple of them with you. Here's one. 25 years ago, the Mayo Clinic researchers stated that 96% of chronic sinus patients have fungus. Does your doctor know that? Your ear, nose, and throat doctor? I dare say wonderful people. I have some friends that are wonderful ENT doctors, but I don't think they know this. So every patient with sinus problems goes on antibiotics. 9 years ago, And I quote, "Our findings provide compelling evidence for the existence of fungal infections in the central nervous system from Alzheimer's disease patients, but not in controlled individuals." Landmark study. 21 cadavers, they sent I think it was in Spain, they sent pathologists in to study what these people died of. So they do all the cut downs and the work on the cadaver, and they sat down with the board and said, hey, all we know is 11 of these cadavers of the 21, 11 had fungus growing through their bodies. The other 10 didn't. And I can just imagine that panel looking at the records. All 11 that died of Alzheimer's were the ones that had fungus in their brain. Folks, you can't make this stuff up. And then it stopped. Shh, no more Alzheimer's fungus study. Gone. Why? New treatment option for Crohn's disease patients may be on the horizon, thanks to research linking a fungal pathogen, not a bacteria, to inflammatory bowel disease. Poof, and then it's gone. 2 new studies, both published September 29 in the journal Cell, uncovered DNA from fungal cells hiding out in tumors throughout the body. You've got to be kidding me. There were 35 different kinds of cancer in those cancer tumors, balls of cancer. They found fungal DNA or fungus itself. Does your oncologist know this? Houston, we have a problem, as we say here in Dallas. We aren't very good at diagnosing fungal diseases. For example, take fungus balls. Once inside the human body, fungi can enclose themselves in a sac formation. I did a Google search on fungal balls mimicking cancer, and almost 18 million items came up. One from Science Direct stated this: "Unfortunately, fungal balls may remain unrecognized, even with CT scans and MRIs, magnetic resonance imaging. Fungus balls can be mistaken for malignancies, urinary stones, or blood clots." You have got to be kidding me. We think you have kidney stones. How do you know? Well, it's consistent. We did these X-ray CT scans. Folks, always get a plan B, always get a diagnosis and then maybe talk to another doctor. Achieve good health by being actively antifungal. Plants resist fungal infections with sunlight, hydration, and proper nutrition. So can we. Vitamin D absorption, in the winter is considerably down. Supplement. Water, vitamins, minerals, amino acids can be absorbed into the body when the gut is healthy from a proper fresh diet. But I also believe in supplementing when the diet isn't that, or supplementing when your diet isn't that good. 2 of the most important nutritional supplements I take are beta-glucan and probiotics. And finally, always tell your doctor, if you've lived in a moldy environment, had chronic sinusitis or intestinal problems, or have taken numerous rounds of antibiotics, as they may assist your doctor in considering fungus as the cause of your health problems. Should we have to assist our doctor? Who pays who? Hope that helps.
But look at North America. This is the United States. And of course the UK, where conveniently enough, 95% of my clients actually live is North America and the UK. And so we end up seeing here, if we go back and figure out the data, we know we use 7 to 9 times. He's very handsome.
Oh, this is really good news, folks. If you're tired of Doug Kaufman, there's a Doug Kaufman North up in Canada. His name is Josh Dech. He's with me right now. Certified holistic nutritionist. He's a paramedic. The Gut Health Solution. It boggles my mind in speaking with you the past few minutes how many global gut problems we have. Because Josh, I had no idea. I thought I think it's post-antibiotic. I think antibiotics were the greatest invention in the world and one of the ugliest, because of the residues that it leaves in our body. But I digress. I'm gonna let you talk. You specialize in irritable bowel, tummy problems, etc. They get so bad, people start bleeding. They sometimes are referred by their doctor. They find you, as my friend did, and you change their world. How do you start? Do you test them?
We have to start with a history. Every time we have to ask questions. Now we can test, we can do urine tests, we can do stool testing, but it depends on the history, because you can spend thousands and thousands of dollars on testing and really you just kind of spray and pray. It's a lot of guessing, right? And so what I like to do is go through a thorough history, find out the most probable cause, go through our symptoms, and then decide, do we need to confirm with a test? Most of the time, if we do our jobs properly, we have enough information, we ask enough questions, we don't even need to test. On the other hand, some people like to, just to confirm that they are seeing what we believe we're seeing as well.
Okay, and this is fascinating. I've talked to a friend out here who sees you, he and his son see you, and it just kind of boggled my mind about some of the cases. You aren't gut exclusive. I mean, this is all interconnected, right? They're now finding depression, fix this gets better.
Absolutely.
And so you have people, children who have various and sundry neurological problems that may get better on your program. And your program, number one, teaches. This chart kind of blew me away. This is the number of cases globally of stomach problems.
This is the saturation. So specifically for the audience listening, I do work in Crohn's and colitis, very specifically, or very severe IBS I've seen. And people come to me for various issues. But if we look at this, I love this pointer, I'll get one to go home. If we look at this chart, we can see here the number of gradient of severity. So these are going to be your population per 100,000. And 300 to 500 per 100,000 people dealing with inflammatory bowel disease, diagnosed Crohn's and colitis. If you look at the saturation of it, right, look at all these other countries. They use far less pesticides than we ever do. But look at North America. This is the United States. And of course the UK, where conveniently enough, 95% of my clients actually live is North America and the UK. And so we end up seeing here, if we go back and figure out the data, we know we use 7 to 9 times more pesticides now than we did 50 years ago. Right, we have 19 times the variety, the different varieties of pesticides sprayed in our food. It's over 1 billion pounds a year. Antibiotic usage is up, breastfeeding is down, C-section rates are up, smoking is up, antibiotics have increased by something like 40% in the last 25 years. So we're decimating our gut bacteria and our microbiomes, which we need for everything. And I argue they're more important than our very DNA.
Do you love the 1-week follow-up? You change their diet, you start them, you do some testing, start them on supplementation, et cetera. I always used to love that at the hospitals. You know, they'd come in a week or two later and you'd pull the doctor into the room so he could hear it also, and some of them would weep. I've gone with these headaches, I've gone with this stomach problem for, 10 years, and they kind of look at the doctor like, why didn't you know that? Do you wonder what medical school is all about? If you don't teach clinical nutrition or clinical mycology, the study of fungus, where have we gone? That's where we've gone. The world is sick.
Well, look at what they eat. If you gave people a regular diet of hospital food, that would give them these diseases.
Jelloitis.
Jelloitis, the irony's on us.
Absolutely amazing to me. So how can you fix these? How long does it take? A bleeding, rectal bleeding, somebody's bleeding inside with IBS, IBD. How long does it take?
Everyone's different. And I want to be clear, it's not just about nutrition, because some people hear nutrition, they think, oh, it's just changing my diet. I've tried diets. It's a lot more complicated than that, of course. But if we hit the right target, find the right thing, and we really get a very specific protocol made for that individual person. I've had people in 16 years, all the biologics, all the drugs, 3 doctors at the Mayo Clinic who have come in after 3 weeks, have gone from 40 plus bowel movements a day with pain, blood, and mucus down to 5 and 8 within 3 weeks' time. I've had people take up to 6 months to have full reversal. Sometimes it's years. But I say on average, if you give it 1 to 2 months of specific targeting for every year you've had the problem, you can see some incredible results that your doctor thought would be impossible.
The contact information to get in touch with Josh is on his website, Gut Solution, singular, gutsolution.ca, Canada. Nice warm up there at this time of year.
It's never warm up there.
Good to see you. Thank you for your heart and your brain. Really appreciate the info.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Friends, it's so exciting when a physician, one who has been through pre-med, medical school, residency, internship prior to that, et cetera, and then go out and practice, understands diet, nutritional supplements, et cetera. How great is that for their patients? A 30-year plus friend of mine, Dr. Lee Cowden, is a cardiologist. Hi, Lee. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on.
I wish you were sitting here, but I know you travel a lot. But I want to talk today about a myelin sheath, coating of the nerve disease, an erosion disease called multiple sclerosis. So many people have this today that, 50 years ago, this wasn't as big a deal as it is today. And I know your group at healingals.org and you are doing something about it. Can you walk down that aisle with me and tell me how you got involved? You're a cardiologist, but here you're involved in neurological symptomatology. When did the interest begin in this field?
Well, I read an article in 2014 that got me interested in multiple sclerosis, and Dr. Paolo Zamboni in Italy had published an article showing that multiple sclerosis was primarily caused by a blockage, a partial blockage in the venous drainage out of the brain. And so when he did angioplasty on his wife who had multiple sclerosis, her symptoms went away and did not come back. But after that, he and others had done a lot of angioplasties on the venous system of the neck and saw initially sometimes improvement, but invariably the problem came back. And so that's when I decided that there must be some other cause besides just the narrowing of the veins. And so we did a study in Dallas in 2014 where we did energetic testing and determined that there was Lyme-related microbes in the jugular vein causing inflammation in the jugular vein. We did thermography, which I'll show you an image of that, and that thermography showed red streaks and white streaks in the jugular vein that should not be there. And so we knew that there was an inflammation there causing the stenosis, causing the narrowing of the jugular vein, impairing the drainage of venous blood out of the brain, and that caused a back pressure of blood into the brain, and some of that blood leaking out into the brain, causing the multiple sclerosis plaques. So what we did is we put the patients on proteolytic enzymes, either lumbricanase, nattokinase, bromelain, about 30 minutes before food with water only, 2 or 3 times a day, and gave them herbal antimicrobial agents, Nutrimetics, Comanda, Cemento, Bandrol, etc., and then oftentimes also an anti-worm treatment to get rid of the worms in the brain. And when we gave all those things daily for about 4 months, the inflammation in the jugular veins went away. The stenosis documented by ultrasound Doppler duplex imaging went away, and we knew that we could reverse multiple sclerosis in most of the cases at that point with a non-invasive treatment protocol. And unfortunately, I was so busy at the time I didn't write that up and publish it. But it's very easy to do the treatment, and for even a patient to do the treatment without the aid of a doctor.
And it really relies on compliance. I mean, these patients and folks, go to this website, healingals.org, getting started. But know what Dr. Cowden's talking about. The onus, folks, is always in medicine upon the physician to prescribe the right. The onus is on us. Go study this, get involved with these people, and see if your MS or ALS might be helped. I know over 100 people have now been helped by this, and this is huge. Dr. Cowden, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Doug.
Half of my career has been in media and education. The other half was clinical work with doctors, seeing if fungus really fit the paradigm, within the office. Dermatology, ear, nose, and throat, internal medicine, I worked them. And I found that when these patients didn't thrive on the medications that they were given, if I could change the terrain of the gut, how do you do that? Probiotics, psyllium, new diet. It really didn't matter if it was ringing in the ear or migraine headaches or depression or arthritis or psoriasis. People began to get better. Not all of them, but I noticed a gut-brain axis, like depression and gut. Okay, so let's walk down that aisle. When the delicate ingredients of your intestine and stomach are healthy, so are you. Thank you, studyfinds.org. This was a headline they ran in August of 23. 3 unhealthy foods that damage your gut health. Well, obviously, folks, if you stay away from these 3 foods, gut health will get better. It's far deeper than 3 foods, but I commend them for running this. The 3 foods are identified as fried foods, refined sugar, and artificial sweeteners. So number one, I'm thrilled this paper correctly identifies the intestinal terrain as the target of unhealthy foods, since a great majority of our immune system, 70–80%, lies in the gut. But if you don't know fungus, folks, and they're invisible poisons they make, they're called mycotoxins, do you really understand why these foods might be considered unhealthy? So let's take each of them and kind of go over that. Fungal poisons, these are mycotoxins. Unless we're very ill, we've all been exposed to small amounts of mycotoxins when we consume cereal grains, especially corn, certain nuts, especially peanuts, alcohol, and even antibiotics. Sugars fuel the fungi that produce these poisons called mycotoxins. Since each of these are swallowed, they travel down to the intestine. So fungus might be the cause, might it, of our gut problems. So now let's take each of those. Let's start with fried foods. What are fried foods like chicken dipped in before they're fried? Answer, corn. Corn and I don't get along. I've made that very known for many, many years. Look, I used to take the kids to the movies when they were little 40 years ago and have a box of popcorn. And I think that's okay, right? And so does the FDA, or it wouldn't be on the market. But I stopped doing that when I began to realize that sometimes corn is impregnated with one of these mycotoxins, and one of them, called aflatoxin, is known to cause human cancer, hepatocellular carcinoma, liver cancer. Why would I eat that when I can avoid it, okay? So we got fried foods covered. What about refined sugar? What's the most common refined sugar used? High fructose corn sweetener. Refined sugars are carbohydrates, and all of them fuel fungus. I did a story not long ago on soda pop. Women, postmenopausal women who drink a soda pop a day are far more prone to liver cancer and death. A soda pop a day. Should we stop that? You know why? The sweetener in soda pop is what? High fructose corn sweetener. Be careful. And finally, we've got fried foods, refined sugar, and here's artificial sweeteners. Can they cause gut damage? Individuals widely use non-nutritive sweeteners, they're now called, changed the name to protect the innocent, in attempts to lower their overall daily caloric intake, lose weight, and sustain a healthy diet. There are insufficient scientific data that support the safety of consuming these non-nutritive sweeteners. However, recent studies have suggested that these non-nutritive sweetener consumptions can induce gut microbiota, the bacteria, the yeast in the gut, changes and promote glucose intolerance in healthy individuals that may result in the development of type 2 diabetes. And what just came out about aspartame, non-nutritive sweetener, might be cancer forming. You got to be careful, folks. Just use your head. Be careful of some of these things. Mycotoxin, its impact on gut health and microbiota, the good terrain of the intestine, came out a few years ago. Most, if not all, of the reported effects of mycotoxins made by fungus, these are fungal poisons that are invisible, are negative in terms of intestinal health, where beneficial bacteria, probiotics, are eliminated, accompanied by an increase of the gut pathogen. So what I want you to know is fried foods, non-nutritive supplements, etc., everything we talked about here, refined sugars, you have to be careful. Those are three foods that can adversely affect the gut terrain. Eat good, living foods that positively affect the gut terrain, and think probiotics for good gut health. So isn't that fascinating? Fried foods, refined sugars, and artificial sweeteners. See, I don't think refined sugars are foods, nor artificial sweeteners. I think if you understand fungus, there's a lot of other things to consider. Thank you, Dr. Stengler, for coming in and continuing our education today on skin problems. Thank you, Dr. Lee Cowden, for helping people with problems that their neurologists may not be able to help with simple supplements. Thank you, Josh Dech, for coming in today. Folks, the work he is doing excites all of us here because we've seen the results of what he does. Thank you for being with us today. May God continue to bless you. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
The preceding program, Know the Cause, was paid for by Mediatrition Incorporated.